welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be doing a reading vlog this week / spend the week with me. But first, before we get started, let's get into the new nail set. I love them. I don't know if I mentioned this here, but my color for the year is blue. So this is the set. But yeah, so this week has started off pretty great so far. I mentioned in my last video that Renée Watson was going to be doing a grief writing workshop for all the blues in the sky. I went to that last night and it was so transformative. I'm gonna play some clips right now.
Gospel hymn and playing an old worn piano. You'll know him by his limp because the coal mines in West Virginia took one of his legs. You might find him popping popcorn on the stove, melting butter in an iron skillet, pinching salt from his wrinkled fingers. If ever you see me give my last care for a fatherless child, know that you've met my granddaddy. Know you know him well.
So yeah, like I said, it was really, really good. I feel like I just kind of needed that pause during the week to just kind of be present and just write. I really do struggle with being present and writing. So she also gave us these poems of grief. And there's stuff that she's written in here, stuff that Kelly Norman Ellis has written. And the one that had me so emotional was a poem that she wrote for Nikki Giovanni's 80th birthday. If you're not aware, Nikki Giovanni passed in December, and her and Renée Watson were very close, and this poem is just so beautiful. It's titled Heaven, if you want to check it out. It was a really, really beautiful class. Some things or some questions that are prompts that she gave us that I'd share with you if you're wanting to kind of participate too. She was saying that something that she does for herself is, as she's learning to live through grief, is to ask herself these questions, but I feel like they're good, just kind of reflection questions. So she said, have you grieved today? How are you acknowledging the things that you've been through? So I thought that was really interesting, and I'm looking at my journal. She also gave us these prompts as well. That is, grief is like ... these tears ... I remember ... and what I miss most ... So she gave us those to just kind of freestyle and be present with ourselves in that moment. But yeah, it was a really great start of the week. I did finish All the Blues in the Sky before the event and it was amazing. It's about a 13-year-old girl named Sage whose best friend unfortunately passes away on her birthday. So we're kind of watching her navigate through that grief. And it's just a great exploration. I think it's also an accessible exploration of grief, and it's a middle grade book, so it's for children, but I think adults can definitely take many things away from it as well. So I did finish that book this week and I absolutely loved it. So yeah, my reading this week has looked very interestingly and I'm definitely going to share, but before I do that, I do have to be honest. In the past 2 reading vlogs, I've talked about reading one book throughout the week and how I felt about it. Everything is great. And I fear I may have lied to you. I'm almost always reading at least 3 to 4 books at once. I just have to be honest. I know the reading vlogs, they feel like, okay, she reads 1 book a week. It's not true. It's not true. So yeah, just had to get that off my chest because, you're probably wondering, well, how do you read more than 1 book at once? So I'm usually always reading 1 physical copy of a book. Sometimes I'm reading an e-arc or an e-edition of a book as well too. I have a Kobo, and I also read on my iPad as well because NetGalley is not compatible with Kobo. Very frustrating. And lastly, I also am always listening to an audiobook at any given moment. At all times, I'm always listening to an audiobook. So yeah, that's kind of the format that I follow. Sometimes I'm listening to more than 1 audiobook, but I kind of tend to want to only focus on 1 just because it's easier that way in my mind. So these are the books that I'm reading this week. First up, The Girls Who Grew Big. I did say that I was going to read it this month, and that same day I made that video was the same day I started the book. And again, I love knowing myself. I love this book. I do. However, these girls are stressing me out. But they're stressing me out in a way where when you're older, right, and you read like about younger girls specifically that are going through a tough time, or, you know, having their first interactions with issues and trying to navigate through things, because you've already lived through a lot of stuff, you're like, no, don't do that, or make another decision. It's not going to go well. That's kind of how I'm feeling as I'm reading this book, but it's like, you know, you have to learn, you have to make mistakes, all the things. But yeah, the writing is beautiful. I love poets. I love when they write fiction specifically, because like every line is just like beautiful. So in this book, I'm on page 159, and I fear I'm probably going to finish it either today or tomorrow. I'm like way into the story. I unfortunately can't share any quotes here, even though I've highlighted a lot, just because this is not the final copy and it may not make the final copy's edition, so that would be very confusing. But yes, this book is living up to everything that I anticipated it to be, and I love that for me. So yes, this is my physical book for this week. And then my e-edition or e-arc book is a book that I've talked about so much. You've probably seen it talked about so much. I was one of the lucky few that caught the NetGalley Read Now for 30 minutes, and it's Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan. The thing was, like, when I was able to get it, I was so excited. I was like screaming. I was like, yes, finally. And then I just couldn't read it. I couldn't start it for like 2 days. You're probably like, why would you wait if this is a book that you've been waiting for over a year? Okay, so a fun fact about me, when something is ending, it could be a TV series or a book or anything, I get like so sad. Like a series ending, a series finale, I'm like devastated, and I try to push it off as much as I can because I just don't want it to end. And that's how I feel about Can't Get Enough. Like, this is the last book in the Skyland series, and like I'm just so sad that like this world will not exist after Can't Get Enough. So I was really hesitant to start it, but I have started it. I'm a few chapters in so far. Of course, it's so good. The acknowledgments had me holding my chest. The prologue had me in tears. So yeah, as you can see, she's going through it. I love it. I will probably finish it this week. And I don't know if I should share like a full review. Probably not a full review now, just because the book doesn't come out till May, but I'll share my thoughts about it for sure. And lastly, I'm still listening to Loca by Alejandro Heredia. Still loving it. I think I have maybe 3 hours left of that book. So those are the 3 books that I'm reading this week. I still love Loca, very much so loving Can't Get Enough, but taking my time with it and loving The Girls Who Grew Big. I feel like there's going to be so much to discuss once it's out. So yeah, that's my reading so far, and I'm gonna take you along the week, just kind of doing just like how I read and how fast I read and just catching up with you throughout the week. So yeah. Oh, I also wanted to update on my reading journal. So I know that in my reading goals for the year, I talked about wanting to have a physical reading journal. I got this one from Papier. And sometimes you gotta know if things work for you or not. And unfortunately, this journal just doesn't work for me. I find that it has a lot of things that I just like don't care about. Like, for instance, first impressions, key takeaways, extra notes. Don't really care about that. A rating system. Would you read this book again? And would you recommend? Like, I don't really care about it. And then it only holds, I think, up to 30 books. And I'm already on book 20 of the year. This was not a sustainable practice for me. I should have thought about that before I got it, but you live and you learn. So naturally, I transitioned, and I've been loving these Stology, I think is what they're called, notebooks. I first found out about them from Tembe Denton-Hurst. She wrote Homebodies, but she also has a Substack, and I follow her on Instagram. She talked about owning these, and I'm a Moleskine girl myself, but these I really love. They're just like so floppy. Like, they're floppy. You've got the grid lining in there. I just really love it. So I'm creating my own reading journal, and one of my other mutuals on Instagram posted these like puffy stickers, and I was like, you know what? Yeah. So I got those, and here's my system. So I have my wish list in the front, like, please excuse the very cursive and messy handwriting. I have a wish list in the front of books that I want to get this year. Some of them I do already have, which is cool. And then after that, I have my finished books, and the stars next to them means that I loved them. And then from there, I have just like when I start to just focus on books in particular, I'm not gonna go back and do the books that I've read for this year because that's too much work, but I'm gonna, probably the first one I put in here will be The Girls Who Grew Big. But I have the book title, author, and the month that I read it. I have a space for quotes, and then I have a space for final thoughts. And to me, I was like, love it, simple, straight to the point. So that's my update on my reading journal, which is interesting. It's February and I've already changed tactics, but you gotta do what works for you. I don't know. I don't make the rules. Okay, I'm home. I just went to a coffee shop to try to read, and there were way too many people in there to film anything. So that was kind of disappointing. However, I did read a lot. So I am now on page 211. And I realized I didn't talk much about what the book is about, except for just like that's a pack of teenage girls living in Florida. So yes, the book covers 3 girls named Simone, Emery, and Adela. And the book starts off with Simone. Simone is giving birth to twins. Like, what bonds them is teenage pregnancy, pretty much. So we're seeing their story individually and how they're interacting with each other. But basically, Simone ended up giving birth to twins, and she kind of founded what's called the Girls. And they basically created this group, kind of like found family of young girls who are mothers as well. And they just kind of like share resources and give as much as they can to each other to make things a little bit easier. They all watch each other's children, and they're basically figuring out motherhood as best as they can. Simone was kicked out by her parents when she found out she was pregnant. And then there's Emery, who joined the group because the father of her baby is Simone's brother. And then Adela is actually not from Florida. Simone and Emery are from Florida. It's a small town in Florida, a beach town. Adela is from Indiana, and her parents basically sent her to live with her grandma once they found out that she was pregnant. So we're seeing all of their stories kind of like intertwining, and how life is treating them individually, and the different lived experiences that they've had and different lessons that they've learned, and what type of mothers that they are. But yeah, it's like a very raw depiction of motherhood. It covers rage, it covers loneliness, grief, lots of trauma, unfortunately. But yeah, it's a heavy book. The story it moves very quickly. It's very captivating. I, again, will probably finish this today. Again, like I was saying before, like the girls stress me out. They're still stressing me out. I think it's showing how much I care about them individually. Emery, not so sure. I care about her. I'm lying. I do care about her. I love this book so far. Right, it is another day, and it is so cold in Houston right now, which I love, but I'm also kind of like missing a little bit of the warmer temperature. But anyways, I finished The Girls Who Grew Big last night at like, I want to say midnight, and infinity stars. When you're gonna love a book and then you love it and you're like, I know myself. I know what I like. Yeah, and that's how I felt about this book. Although I mentioned that this book was about, of course, 3 teenagers who were pregnant teens growing up in a small beach town in Florida, I feel like by the end of the book, I was like, yeah, this book is also very much so about sisterhood beyond what bonds us, right? In this case, it was like pregnancy that bonded these girls, but it grew into so much more. Again, Layla Motley is someone that I believe was supposed to be a writer, like was just destined to be a writer. Again, the writing was fantastic. What I loved about it the most is that each girl had a full story. It wasn't like, oh, we got to know more about one girl over the other. Each girl had a full story, and you were able to connect with each of them for very different reasons, but you were also able to find empathy for them in ways that I don't think I even anticipated as I was reading. Like I mentioned, I was like, I don't know if I'm connecting with Emery. I lied. I spoke too soon. I lied. I connect with all of these girls in a different way. I have empathy for them in a different way. I admire their strength, right? Their ability to make a way where there seems to be no way. Their ability to lean on each other when they family don't have the resources or just need something from each other. It was truly really beautiful to witness. By the end of the book, I was very teary again because that sisterhood thread that is like woven between all of them was really beautiful to witness, and it just made me reflect on how much I just love sisterhood. There's nothing like it. And sisterhood in the sense of like, not just like your biological sisters, but your found sisters, like your found family. That's another thing that's very much so a big thread in this book. Yeah, I loved it. Not a single no. I even wish it was longer, to be very honest. This was almost 400 pages. If it was 500, I would have been happy. That's how I felt about it. I was just so immersed into this tiny Florida beach town world with the girls. Like, I just loved being able to spend a few days with them in that space. Again, it's out June 24th of this year. I know that's very much so months away from now. However, add it to your TBR, add it to your list. I couldn't recommend it more. I'm so excited that I got to read it so early because it was so high on my anticipated releases for the year. I can't wait for the final copy to drop because I will be purchasing that as well. I loved it. Other reading updates that I have, I'm still listening to Loca. I'll probably finish that today. And I gotta be real with you guys. I'm not gonna rush Can't Get Enough. I'm not. I'm taking my time with it. So will I be finished reading it by the end of this week? I don't think so. And that's just me being honest. I don't think so. When I am done though, I'll let y'all know, but I can't rush the story. I can't. Like, I just hate endings. I hate endings. I hate series endings, and I'm taking my time. So please respect my privacy at this time, but I'll update as I do read just so that you know how I feel about it. But I mean, of course I love it. No shock there, but yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna keep listening to Loca. Today is Galentine's Day, and I just remembered that I still have my Lego set. That's a little box of chocolates that I showed a couple videos back. So I think I'm gonna listen to Loca and then build that, and then I'll show y'all how that goes too. All right, so it's after work, after a long day. I just wanna chill. The vibe is set. We've got the mood lighting, so to unwind. So because tomorrow is Valentine's Day, I'm going to be building this little box of chocolates from Legos. It is 172 pieces. So real quick. And again, I'm going to be listening to Loca. So I've got 2 hours and 56 minutes left. I don't think it'll take me that long to build this little box, but I'll show my process and then I'll check back in once I'm done. It's a Valentine's Day, as you can see. Try to fit the vibe a little bit. Trying to fit the vibe. I got my pinks, I've got my makeup. You know, I feel like Valentine's Day is what you make it. I hope that you are surrounded by love in all shapes, forms, and sizes. And yeah, this was a really good reading week, I think, for me personally. I did finish Loca yesterday. Before I talk about it though, I also finished the Lego set. So here is the little like box of chocolates. How cute. And then you open it and there's little chocolates in there. This was very cute and very fun to build. Very easy. Took me less than an hour. And now I can just like have a little cute thing. And it comes with a stand that looks like this. So you can put or rest the box delicately on it and display it. I don't know if I'll display it. I'm like looking around to see where I might put it. I don't know, but she's cute. I'm gonna try to display it while holding it. It's probably like a mission impossible, but it'll look like this pretty much displayed. But yeah, very fun to build while listening to Loca. Again, so Loca is about Sal and Charo, and they both are from DR, the Dominican Republic, Santo Domingo specifically, and they both moved to New York. And it just talks about their journey being back home in Santo Domingo, and then like how the transition from there to New York was, their different ideas of what it would be like to live in New York. Unfortunately, some of the traumas that they experience as well. This book is a great exploration of identity. It's a great exploration of just what the American dream is, and also chosen family. Like I feel like this week in my reading, the biggest theme was chosen family for sure, and like it makes my heart really warm because we really do need each other. And when I read books like this, it just reminds me of the power of community and how our chosen family sometimes, most times, is they become way more important than the family that we are born into. And this book was a great reminder of that. Again, it reminded me of Pose just because it's like we're looking at a group of queer folks who are navigating through identity. This book also covers a little bit about the AIDS epidemic at that time. It talks about even going into the millennium as well. So this book takes place in like the 80s and the 90s. That's why it reminded me of Pose. I don't know if you've ever seen the show, like you know that that's like a really big storyline there. And yeah, I love this book. The writing was really great. There was 2 quotes, 3, but I'll probably read 2 that really stuck out to me, and I'm gonna read them to you now. So they were talking about one of the so Sal was working at an ice cream shop, and like the whole thing about the ice cream shop is that the owner was gay and unfortunately died. So his friend is like keeping this ice cream shop and only hires gay folks and queer folks who just kind of need income and community. That's what she says. And Sal doesn't really see it that way. He doesn't really see it as like a safe space or anything. So then he says that, you know, she's really just grieving her friend. And then he goes, because that's what people do with the dead, turn them into symbols to serve the living. I was like, whoa, okay, fair point. I guess I've never thought about it that way, but it is very true. Like sometimes, most times we do turn them into symbols, right? And I'm wondering, you know, do we keep them as high when they're alive, or do we just wait until they're dead? I don't know. Many thoughts came when I read that, but it really hit me, and it's something I'm definitely still thinking about. But that was one. He then says, we're obsessed with making sense of everything, but sometimes we just gotta let things go untouched by meaning to survive. Like, do we need to understand everything all the time? I don't know. What is it like to leave things untouched? Like, would things be better or easier if we did? Things to think about. And then he also mentioned in talking about a friend, he said, some people would rather be destroyed than be reduced. And I was like, dang. So yeah, that's kind of how his writing is, very like deep, but like straight to the point. I feel like all of the characters that were in the story, both the main characters and then the people in their lives, had pretty full stories. There's another storyline about a man named Don Julio that I really, really loved as well. At first I was like, how is this fading into the story? But it made sense as I kept reading. So yeah, I definitely recommend Loca if you like stories about found family, stories about like 80s, 90s New York, stories that cover sexual identity or just identity in general. And if you like really good writing, because again, I think that this book was written really, really well. So yeah, really good reading week. I got to build a Lego set. It's Valentine's Day. I'm gonna like live in this pink and purple bubble because I feel like, you know, sometimes you just gotta celebrate the small stuff when everything else is going downhill. You know what I mean? But yeah, thank you so much for following me along my reading journey this week. It was a long one, but again, I'm really excited that I got to read 2 really good books. Again, I was trying to finish Can't Get Enough this week, and I'm taking my time. I'm really enjoying the story so far. And if you aren't aware about what Can't Get Enough is about, it's Hendrik's story in the Skyland series. And again, the Skyland series is written by Kennedy Ryan, and Hendrik's mom has dementia, and unfortunately it's escalated in a way that she didn't anticipate. So the book starts off with her having to kind of reconcile with the fact that her mom does need more care, more support than she thought. And then like, you know, we're kind of struggling to or trying to see how she's navigating being a caretaker for her mom while also living her life. And yeah, I think again, it's very like fun. This book is very flashy in the sense of like, got money. I've already had to look up something. She mentioned that she went into a house that they had Rick Owens furniture. I didn't even know that existed. That's out of my tax bracket. But yeah, it's very rich, very fun, very flashy so far. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And who knows, by the time I do another reading vlog, I might be done with it. I might do a full review of it in general. We'll see. But yeah, that's how my week has been. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.